Hello and welcome to Maximum Disc, a show where I celebrate physical media and talk about films that I own on Blu Ray and 4K Blu Ray. I'm James Adamson. I'm a co-host on the Double Reel Film Podcast. If you like this chat about physical media, please do check out Double Reel. It's a monthly magazine-style podcast made by people who love movies as much as you do. We think if you tune into any episode, you'll come away with a bunch of recommendations of good things to watch, rather than just doing what the algorithm tells you. That's the sales pitch for the podcast over. Now we're talking about physical media. Why does it matter? Well, short version, it matters because if you care about a film, you need to own it. You can't rely on the streamers to make everything available. You'd be surprised how often when you go looking for something specific, it's not there. If it is there, it's probably not the proper director's cut or special edition that really makes the film work, and certainly doesn't look and sound its best on a compressed internet file compared to on a lovely, well-prepared disc sitting on your shelf, ready for you to watch at any time. So hopefully you're a convert to that already, and that's why you've clicked on this to listen to this episode, which, as with all Maximum Disc episodes, is a review of a single film that I own, just talking about, whether it looks and sounds good, is it a good reproduction or transfer from the original film. I talk about my sort of relationship to the film, how I came to love it, own it, all of those things. And sort of wrapping it up, I'll talk about whether I think it's an essential purchase, which is obviously just my opinion, but maybe it'll help you make your own mind up. Today we're talking about The Illusionist on Blu Ray. To be specific, this is the 2006 Ed Norton period drama about a magician, stage magician, not the animated film with a similar name. As I said, this came out in 2006, written and directed by Neil Berger. He's an American filmmaker who perhaps hasn't quite delivered on the early promise of his career. He started with a really smart, low-budget mockumentary called Interview with the Assassin, in which a documentary filmmaker meets a man who claims to have been the second gunman in the John F. Kennedy assassination. His follow-up to that success was this film, The Illusionist, which did well. After that, it's a bit mixed. He had a flop with The Lucky Ones, then he directed Bradley Cooper and De Niro in Limitless, which was quite successful. Then had a couple of gun-for-hire films which made money but had mixed reviews, Divergent and The Upside. Since then, he's divided his time between producing TV shows and directing a few films which haven't done very well at all. It's based on the short story Eisenheim the Illusionist by Stephen Milhauser, which is a pretty loose adaptation for the film. And the cast includes the likes of Edward Norton in the titular role of the Illusionist, Paul Giamatti, Jessica Biel, Rufus Sewell, Eddie Marzan, Jake Wood from EastEnders, if you recognise him, and early roles for Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Eleanor Tomlinson. The cinematography was by the late Dick Pope, a British director of photography who is most famous for numerous collaborations with Mike Leigh. He's also photographed films for the likes of Barry Levinson, Chris McQuarrie, John Sayles, Richard Linklater and Mike Newell. He was very highly regarded, especially among the experts themselves, the various societies of cinematographers who really liked him. The usually extensive team worked on the sound for the film, led by supervising sound editor J. Paul Huntsman. The score is a typically striking composition by Philip Glass, generally more famous for being like an avant-garde modern classical composer, but he does occasionally produce musical gems in the film world, such as the scores for this film, Candyman, the 1992 version, The Truman Show, and Martin Scorsese's Kundun. It's a ravishing orchestral theme aimed at conjuring up the central romance and also the atmosphere of the period, and is one of the stars of the movie. In terms of awards and nominations, this film got a fair smattering. Quite a few of them were for Dick Pope's cinematography, which we'll talk about. He was nominated for the Oscar in that category, losing out to Pan's Labyrinth, which is probably fair enough. He did win some awards in the Specialist Cinematography Awards ceremonies and a couple of City Critics Circles awards. There was also some recognition for the Philip Glass score and Neil Berger's screenplay. So generally well received, but not like a spectacular kind of awards powerhouse. Quick summary of what the film's about. It's set towards the end of the dying Austro-Hungarian Empire, late 19th century. The main character is the Jewish, sort of young Jewish son of a cabinet maker who forms a childhood romance with the local duchess, which in the 19th century isn't, frowned upon, not permitted, not going to happen. He's also a magic enthusiast. There's a famous story about how he met a great illusionist on the road who showed him some magic and then disappeared and gave him a lifelong fascination with it. He makes the Duchess, his sweetheart, a locket with a secret message and his photograph in it, which can only be opened a certain way, which comes back in the story. They then forcibly parted before it gets any further. The young lad disappears but re-emerges as Eisenheim the Illusionist. He comes to Vienna about 1889, performs in the local theatre and is a sensation. He attracts the attention of the Crown Prince, who hopes to or plans to be emperor one day. His friendly cop chief Inspector Ull, played by Paul Giamatti, checks Eisenheim out to ensure he's okay, and then the Crown Prince comes to performance with his would-be fiancée. This is, of course, the Duchess all grown up, and she's not into the idea of marrying the prince. She and Eisenheim rekindle their romance, and a game of cat and mouse ensues between them, the very powerful Crown Prince, the policeman who becomes, conflicted in, what side he should be on, and that, people are trying to escape the confines of society around them, the very rigid sort of, like I say, dying empire. And this is all sort of played out or tied up in the magic tricks and popularity of Eisenheim, whose illusions start to seem like supernatural powers. That might seem familiar. The 2006 bit might seem familiar, and we'll come to that in a second. So my background with the film, I didn't see it at the cinema. I heard about it. I don't know why I didn't see it. I think I might have just been a bit tied up when it came out briefly. But when I heard about it, I knew it would be up my street. Now, the other film that came out with a very similar theme, same year, was Christopher Nolan's The Prestige. And there are obviously inevitable comparisons with that. It's also a period piece from the 19th century about stage magicians. They did about the same business at the time, but The Prestige is much more remembered by everyone. I'm fairly sure I saw The Prestige first. It's actually very different in style and tone than The Illusionist. It's almost a science fiction film. Not long after that, though, I saw The Illusionist and really fell in love with it. I prefer it over The Prestige, even though I do like that film. Like I say, The Illusionist was quite successful when it came out. 90 million worldwide on a 16.5 million budget, comparable to Nolan's film, which did 109 million on a 40 million budget. So it wasn't blown out of the water at the time. But obviously Nolan's career and reputation has burgeoned, so The Prestige has more staying power. Some people call it, quietly, his best film, that sort of thing. And The Illusionist has been a bit lost to time by comparison. So kind of a hidden gem. We've done it as a hidden gem on the podcast as it happens. It's a sort of a real sort of favourite of mine, one that I've got a real sort of, attachment to. Now to the disc. It's actually quite hard to get hold of this on Blu Ray in a UK edition. In fact, you have to, you're looking for imports. There is a US version if you can play multi-region discs. My player can't. So I was shopping around for editions from other European countries, as long as they have English language audio, and there are a few like the French. Mine's the German edition. It's a slightly basic disc, not many frills. It's certainly not. It's not even got a slipcover. It's not a steelbook. But it has the film in English, no English subtitles. I know a lot of people, sometimes it's nice to have the subtitles up because you're playing it sort of quietly late at night. You don't want the noise blasting, keeping everyone awake. It doesn't have subtitles, but it's got, the English audio. About 50 minutes of special features, including trailers, making of, a couple of documentary featurettes. The film is the standard theatrical version. I'm not aware that there's any other version, no director's cut or anything like that. So a fairly standard, not particularly sort of, special disc. And it's, all the packaging's in German. There's no leaflet. And if there was, I did German GCSE, but I'm not sure I could read a whole sort of essay by an eminent, German film, academic about a movie. So it is just the movie, pretty much on the disc. So let's talk about the video. The film was shot on 35mm Kodak with Aricam cameras using a variety of lenses, including Zeiss, Cooke, Sonar, and Ingenieur. Dick Pope was basically using every trick in the book to try and recreate the late Austrian Empire period. He's also trying to represent the sort of experimental colour film images that were pioneered or briefly kind of shown, but no one picked up on them. The Lumiere brothers did try some colour photography, and it's got a very kind of soft focus, almost sepia palette, and that sepia tint is quite important to trying to bring the city of like late 19th century Vienna, and that imperial period to life. It's a solid 1080p transfer of that very specific set of visuals. Like I said, it is quite tricky. Filters, lenses, all types of lighting and tricks that they've used. They've done a decent job. A lot of it is quite soft focus, so it's not a huge stretch for your 4K TV to display this. The sort of the strongest colour moments are in the theatre. They have an intensity. First of all, there's the rich colours of the opulent theatre where Eisenheimer, initially performs. Then a much more basic theatre, but there's lots of dark and just Ed Norton on screen. And there's lots of flesh tones, quite bright lights, and it's all very nicely rendered. So it's absolutely beautiful because the original film is beautiful. It's a fairly standard transfer. The better your system, the better it looks. It's not the biggest challenge for your system, but it's very well done for the purpose of the film. Similar with the sound, there's nothing too bombastic on there. There's some small amount of hoofbeats, couple of gunshots, but you're not talking about like a major kind of soundscape that you've got to try and reproduce. It's just got to be nice and clear, and it is. I mean, the real star of the soundtrack is Philip Glass's score, which is crisp and clear all the way through. I mean, that's absolutely beautiful. It's got a combination of like piano and orchestra. It's really lovely. So no helicopters or explosions, but very nice, clear sound. It's standard 5.1. It's very good. I don't think you need to kind of go all out and try and do an Atmos remaster of this. The sound is very good and very clear for a film that's not really trying to challenge your speakers that much. So overall, I love this film. I think a lot of people, far prefer The Prestige. I know I'm in the minority on that. Nolan's kind of sort of rather extraordinary vision with, mostly bigger name stars outside of Ed Norton. The Illusionist hasn't got huge names, but, him, Paul Giamatti, Rufus Sewell, good actors and everything. But, The Prestige has got Christian Bale, a young Scarlett Johansson, Hugh Jackman, and obviously Christopher Nolan has become one of the biggest filmmakers around, so his films just get more attention. But I really like this film. I really love the evocation of that period. There's not many films set in, Vienna in the late 19th century and showing that time and that world. And I was really taken in by this story. It really caught me up. Some clever plot and just great atmosphere and style. And Edward Norton's sort of quiet intensity really sort of dominates the film. So I thought it was great, and no regrets about sort of shopping around for like a German Blu Ray of it. Is it an essential purchase? Well, probably not for everyone, and the disc isn't exactly lavish. For me it is, because I love the film, because it's lesser known. It's less guaranteed to be available on streaming. I mean, it is around, but I want to own my own copy so that I can just make sure I can watch it whenever I want. I hope one day there's a better physical media release, but this is a good reproduction of the film for those in the know who love this film. So that's The Illusionist. I hope you enjoyed this review, got something out of it. I really enjoyed talking to you about it. As I said, please check out the podcast if you like this chat about physical media. Double Reel is there for you to listen to anytime you want. Ways to get in touch, check out our socials, find the podcast. Will be on screen in a couple of moments. But in any event, I hope to see you soon again for more physical media chat right here on Maximum Disc. The Maximum Disc YouTube channel is brought to you by Double Reel, the monthly magazine podcast for the discerning film nerd. If you like our celebration of physical media, please check out the podcast for more chat about the films we love and hate.